Hello children, welcome for another session of our class 8th, chapter 10, direct and inverse proportion. Proportion. We have discussed about the proportion in our previous classes. Proportion means the two quantities depending on one another. If one quantity increases, other quantity also increases in the same ratio, then the two quantities are said to be in direct proportion. For example, suppose when you are distributing chocolates for your birthday, if number of friends are 10, if you want to distribute each one chocolate per head a chocolate, then how many chocolates you require? 10. Obviously, if the number of friends are increased from 10 to 20, how many chocolates you need to purchase? 20. That means if the number of friends are increasing, the number of chocolates you need to distribute also increases. That means here the number of chocolates and the number of friends, both the quantities are in direct proportion. That is one situation. In another situation, suppose you have a piece of cake, that much only there, you do not have the chance of purchasing another one. You want to distribute that piece of cake among your friends, right? Okay, a piece of cake which is in this shape, suppose. If you have to distribute this cake among your 4 friends equally, what you will do? You will divide this piece of cake into 4 equal parts, right? Now each part of a cake is this much now, right? Each piece of the cake is this much, a sector, right? Suppose the number of friends you invite are more than 4, that means 5 friends you have invited. Then you have to make this cake into 5 equal portions. Okay, 5 equal portions like this. That means the size of the piece comparing to previous situation and this situation, the size of the piece will be reduced. Why? Because the number of friends are increased. Previously there are 4, now there are 5. The size of the cake piece will be reduced. Why? Because the limited size of the cake only you have. Suppose there are 8 friends, then what you do? Like this, 8 equal parts you make. Then the size of each piece will be even more smaller now. In this situation, what is happening? If the number of friends are increasing, the size of the cake piece is decreasing. This situation is called what? Inverse proportion. Hope you all understood by these examples. That means if one quantity increases, the other quantity also increases in the same ratio. The two quantities are said to be in direct proportion. If one quantity increases, other quantity decreases, this condition is known as inverse proportion. By taking some problems of exercise, you will be understanding even more clearly. So these quantities we are naming with variables. Okay, variable x and variables. How to understand the proportion? In our previous classes, we learnt about the ratio. Ratio is what? The comparison of two quantities. Ratio is a comparison of two quantities. We name as A is to B. That means A is one quantity, B is another quantity. We are comparing the two quantities. That is the ordered comparison of two quantities known as ratio. Here proportion means comparison of two ratios. Comparison of two ratios. Now if A is to B is equal to C is to D, there are how many quantities now? 4 quantities. These 2 quantities, these are other 2 quantities. If these are 4, A is to B is equal to C is to D, then we can say A, B, C proportion. Proportion means what? The comparison of the two ratios. Actually, ratio is what? The comparison of two quantities. If all four quantities involved in a ratio, if the two ratios are equal, then these four quantities are said to be in proportion. That is the main concept of proportion. In this proportion, two types of proportions are there: direct proportion and inverse proportion. As I explained the two situations now, let us take some more examples or some more situations to understand direct proportions and inverse proportion. Suppose you want to purchase pen. If cost of each pen is 10 rupees, you have 50 rupees in your pocket. 50 rupees in your pocket. How many pens you can purchase using the total 50 rupees? If the cost of each pen is 10 rupees, you can purchase 5 pens. I told you, you have 50 rupees in your pocket. Cost of each pen is 10 rupees. So, how many pens you can purchase? 5 pens using that 50 rupees. If the cost of each pen is 25 rupees, this time using that 50 rupees, how many pens you can purchase? Only 2 pens you can purchase. Why? Because the cost is increased. Previously, it is only 10 rupees. Now it is cost of each pen is 25 rupees. As the cost increases, the number of pens you can purchase is decreasing. This is inverse proportion. That means cost of the each pen is increased. The number of pens you can purchase using the 50 rupees is only 2, decreased. That is called inverse proportion. If the cost of each pen is only 5 rupees, suppose, using that 50 rupees, you can purchase how many pens? 10 pens. This time number of pens are increased. Why? Because the cost of each pen is decreased. If one quantity is decreasing, other quantity is increasing in the same ratio, then the two quantities are said to be in inverse proportion. Now, another situation you take. You have lot of money. You are not bothered about how much money you are spending. You went to a shop and you ask the cost of each pen how much. If the cost of each pen is 10 rupees, if you want to purchase 2 pens, you need to spend 20 rupees. If you want to purchase 5 pens, each pen cost is 10 rupees. So 5 tens are 50 rupees you need to spend. If you want 10 pens, now how much money you have to spend? 10 tens are 100. See, the number of pens you want to purchase is increasing. So the money you need to spend is also increasing. One quantity increasing, in the same ratio other quantity are also increasing. This situation is called what? Direct proportion. Hope you all understood by these situations. Now let us go for the actual definition using the variables about the direct proportion and inverse proportion. Let's see direct proportion using the variables for two different quantities. If x and y are any two quantities, if x and y are any two quantities such that both of them increase or decrease together, both of them, x and y, both of them increase or decrease together. That means if x increases, y also increases. If x decreases, y also decreases. If both of them increase or decrease together, then x divided by y remains constant. X divided by y remains constant. Then we say that x and y both are in direct proportion. We can represent this statement using the symbols like this: x by y, that means x divided by y is equal to k, where x is equal to k into y by doing the cross multiplication. That means the constant, where k is the constant. That means as x increases, y also increases in the same ratio. X by y is the ratio between x and y. Remains constant. So where k is the constant. Then we can say x and y both the quantities are in direct proportion. This can be written as x is directly proportional to y. This is the sign or the symbol which we use. X directly proportional to y. Okay. When the quantity x increases, in the same ratio the quantity y also increasing. If x decreases, y also decreasing in the same ratio, then we say both the quantities x and y are in direct proportion. If you compare by y2. If one situation is given where the two quantities values are given, in the same, the representing values, x representing values are x1 and x2, y representing values are y1 and y2. If you want to find out of the four quantities, three quantities are given, the fourth quantity if you want to find out, you have to use this formula when they are in the direct proportion. X1 by y1 is equal to x2 by y2. This if you have to remember, then only you can find out the quantity which you are needed to find. Hope you all understood the direct proportion definition using the variables. Let us move on to the inverse proportion. See, inverse proportion, if x and y are any two quantities such that one quantity x increases, the other quantity y decreases. See here, if x increases, the other quantity y decreases, or if x decreases and the other quantity y increases. If x increases, y decreases. If x decreases, y increases, then these two x and y are called in inverse proportion. Now it can be written as x inversely proportional to y. X inversely proportional to y. How to read it? X is inversely proportional to y. Otherwise, the product of x quantity and y quantity is equal to a constant, where k is a constant. X into y is equal to k. How to read this one? X is inversely proportional to y. Read it as x is inversely proportional y. That means if the quantity x increases, the other quantity y decreases. If the quantity x decreases, the other quantity y increases. So one increases, other decreases. One decreases, other increases. This kind of situation is known as inverse proportion. See, if y1 and y2 are the values of y corresponding to the values of x1 and x2 of x respectively, then x1 by x2 is equal to y2 by y1. This is what you need to remember. The situation. If x is directly proportional to y, what we have discussed previously, x1 by x2 is equal to y2 by y1. Okay. Here x1 by x2 is equal to y2 by y1. This is inverse proportion. When directly proportion, x1 by x2 is equal to y1 by y2. So these things you have to remember in order to solve the problems of coming exercise. Let's see some problems to understand more clearly about direct proportion and inverse proportion. In the exercise 10.1, let's see some questions of this 10.1. See the first question of exercise 10.1. The cost of 5 meters of a particular quality of cloth is rupees 210. Cost of 5 meters cloth. What is the quantity of cloth? 5 meters length. The cost is how much? Rupees 210. This is given. Find the cost of, first question, 2 meters cloth, 4 meters, 10 meters, 13 meters. Different lengths of the cloths are given. We have to find the cost of the 2 meters cloth, 4 meters cloth, 10 meters cloth, 13 meters cloth of same quality. The cloth quality is same. The cost of 5 meters cloth is given 210. So here cost and length of the cloth, both are the two different quantities. Length of the cloth is one quantity, cost of the cloth is other quantity. So let us assume these two quantities with the two different variables. I am taking and supposing the length of the cloth as x, cost of the cloth as y. Okay. Let the length of cloth as x, the cost of cloth as y. I am supposing two variables. to represent the two different quantities which are length of the cloth and cost of the cloth. Here situation is given. First condition, the cost of 5 meters cloth is rupees 210 is given. Cost of given that cost of 5 meters cloth is equal to rupees 210, which is given. Here we all know, if you want to purchase more length of the cloth, you have to spend money. If you want to purchase little amount of cloth, you need to spend little amount of money. Obviously, this is what direct proportion. If one quantity increases, other quantity also increases in the same ratio. If you have more cloths, you need to purchase more spend more money. If you want to purchase less cloth, you have to spend less money. So this condition is what? Direct proportion. That means the cost of the cloth and the length of the cloth both are in direct proportion. Here cost and length of cloth and cost are in direct proportion. As I told you, when the two quantities are in direct proportion, in order to find the representative values, we have to remember a formula. Just now we have discussed x1 by y1 is equal to x2 by y2 when the two quantities are in direct proportion. Here what is x1? The 5 meters cloth. x1 is equal to 5 meters. y1 is what? 5 meters cloth cost. How much? Rupees 210. Now first question, we need to find out the cost of the 2 meters cloth. So this you have to take it as x2, which is 2 meters. What is the cost of this 2 meters cloth? We need to find out. Okay, actually in our previous classes such as 6th and 7th, in this kind of situation, what you need to do? You are going to find unitary method. Unitary method means first 5 meters cloth is given, cost 210. What is the cost of 1 meter? According to that, how many meters of cloth is there? That many you have to multiply and you are finding it. That method of finding is called what? Unitary method. Okay, but as we are discussing about the direct proportion in this class, you should not use the unitary method. That means no need of finding what is the cost of 1 meter cloth. Already in the question it is given cost of 5 meters cloth is rupees 210. We need to find what is the cost of 2 meters cloth, what is the cost of 4 meters cloth, what is the cost of 10 meters cloth, what is the cost of 13 meters cloth. If you do not know the concept of direct proportion or inverse proportion, what you are going to do? You are going to find out what is the cost of 1 meter cloth first. Then after you can find how many meters of cloth, what is the cost, you can find out easily. That process you are learning in your previous classes such as 6th and 7th. That process is called unitary method. But as we are learning direct proportion in this class, we have to use this concept. Now take the given things in x1 and y1. Second one, what you are going to find cost of the 2 meters cloth. Take this 2 meters as x2. We are going to find the cost of the 2 meters cloth. That is what? y2. Cost of 2 meters cloth. That is what? Cost of 2 meters cloth. Right? So substituting the values, when both are in direct proportion, as x is directly proportional to y, what formula you have to use? X1 by y1 is equal to x2 by y. Substitute in this the given values. So x1, what is x1? 5 by y1. What is y1? 210 is equal. x2, what is x2? 2. y2, what is y2? Cost of 2 meters cloth, we don't know. So keep that y2 as these. Okay. Now by doing the cross multiplication, so y2 into 5 into y2, then 2 into 210. Actually we need to find out what? Cost of 2 meters cloth. That is the question mark here. So y2 is equal to this 2 into 210 by this 5. When transposed to that side, the product will become what? Division. So that 5 will come in the denominator. Now go for the simplification. 5 ones are 5, 5 fours are 20, and 5 twos are 10. So what is remaining? y2 is equal to 2 into 42. 2 into 42. So y2 is equal to 2 into 42 got 84. This 84 is what? The cost of 2 meters cloth. So we can write, therefore the cost of 2 meters cloth is how much? Rupees 84. In the similar way, you can find out what is the cost of 4 meters cloth, what is the cost of 10 meters cloth, what is the cost of 13 meters cloth. Everything is same. X1 will remain same, Y1 will remain same, but X2 in place of 2 meters, next time we are going to keep 4. And the third question 10. Fourth question 13. Same formula you have to use when both are in direct proportion. X1 by Y1 is equal to X2 by Y2. Just substitute the values and do the cross multiplication, and for the simplification you will be finding what is the cost of 4 meter class, what is the cost of 10 meters class, what is the cost of 13 meters class. It's so simple. Only thing you need to remember, according to the situation, both the quantities are in which proportion, direct proportion or inverse proportion. Just find out by using your common sense. If one quantity increases, other quantity also increases in the same ratio, both are in direct proportion. Both are in direct proportion, we need to remember x1 by y1 is equal to x2 by y2. Okay, x1 and x2, both x1 and x2 are the representative values of the first quantity. y1 and y2 are the representative values of the second quantity. So in the question, x1 value and y1 value will be given, and x2 or y2 value will be given. The other thing you need to find out by using this formula. Hope you all understood how to find out this. So remaining 4 meters cloth cost, 30 meters cloth cost, 13 meters cloth cost. By substituting in the place of x2, you will be finding the y2 values. x1 and y1 values will be remaining same as 5 meters and 210 will be fixed. Here only it will change. In place of 2, second question it will be 4, the other question will be 10, fourth question will be 13. By doing the simplification, you can easily find out. Hope you all understood how to solve the problem in the exercise 10.1 first bit. Let us go on to the second question. See the second one. Fill the table. In the table, it is given like this: number of apples and cost of apples in rupees. It is given. Here, number of apples 1, 4, 7, 12, and 20. The first box is filled already. The second, third, fourth, fifth, these blanks we have to fill. Okay, the cost of one apple is given 8 rupees. Here, very simple thing. How many more apples you need to find purchase? That much more money you need to spend. Very simple. That means if the number of apples are increasing, the cost of the total apples also increases. That means what? Which are in direct proportion. The two quantities, number of apples you need to purchase, the amount of money you need to spend, both will be in direct proportion. Simply, already it is given one apple cost is 8 rupees. What is the cost of 4 apples? 4 into 8. What is the cost of 7 apples? 7 into 8. What is the cost of 12 apples? 12 into 8. What is the cost of 20 apples? 12 into 8. Why? Because already one apple cost is given as rupees 8. Suppose somewhere it is not given one cost apple, somewhere 7 apples cost is given, even though you can find out. So by using the proportion you can find, or by simply any, like 5th class student also you can easily find out by multiplying. As the cost of one apple is 8 rupees, how many number of apples you are going to purchase? Just multiply with the number of apples with the cost of each apple is rupees 8. Easily you can find out. Here you see the number of apples I am taking as x. Number of apples I am taking it as x. Okay, x1. And the cost of each apple. Cost of each apple or cost of apples taking as 1. As the first condition is given as cost of one apple, that is x1 is equal to 1, that is number of apples 1. Next, y1, the cost of one apple is rupees 8. x2, what is that? Number of apples 4. y2, cost of this 4 apples, how much? So as both are in direct proportion, here number of apples and their cost are in direct proportion. Obviously, we know if you want to purchase more number of apples, you need to spend more money. If you want less number of apples, you need less money. Simple thing. In direct proportion. When both are in direct proportion, as I told you, what you need to remember? x1 by y1 is equal to x2 by y2. This is the condition you need to remember. Just substitute the values. x1, what is that? 1. y1, what is that? 8. x2, what is that? 4. y2, we need to find out. Okay. Now by doing the cross multiplication, y into 1 is y2 into 1, 4 into 8, 4 into 8. So y2 is equal to 4 8s are 32. 32 divided by 1 is 32 only. That means what is y2? Cost of 4 apples. 8 4s are 32. In the similar manner, you can easily find out. 7 into 8, 56. 12 into 8, 12 8s are 96. 20 into 8, 160. Simply you can substitute in this and multiply with 8, you will easily find out. Hope you all understood how to find the problems of exercise 10.1. All are based on the direct proportion concept only. Simple thing you need to remember, given condition x1 y1, given values we assume, then how to find out either x2 or y2. Using this formula, when both are in direct proportion, x1 by y1 is equal to x2 by y2. Okay? Hope you all understood. With this, we conclude our exercise 10.1. Some problems we have completed. Remaining problems, when we meet in the next session, we will discuss. Hope you all understood today's session. Thank you very much.